This 2018 Ford Focus overheats while idling. Driving down the road, it's totally fine. There's no excess buildup inside of the radiator. It doesn't look damaged. There's no excess cooling system pressure. So the most likely culprit is the water pump.
Yeah, before you go tearing into a water pump like this, there's one really important thing you should check first. Make sure your cooling fan actually comes on when you turn the AC on. On this car, the fan actually wasn't running at all. It ended up being a blown fuse that was pretty well hidden. I'll link that video above if you want to check it out. But if your fan is working, or if your water pump is leaking, or it's due for maintenance, I'll show you how to replace it.
So this is a 2018 Ford Focus hatchback with the 2.0 liter engine. Come up here to there. And I've gone ahead and fired it back up just so you can kind of hear the amount of pressure. Let's turn this battery charger off so that's not noisy. All right, here we go. There's just a little hiss. You're gonna hear a little bit of a hiss, maybe more than that. It hadn't been driven. I fired it up and then pulled it in. Immediately popped the radiator cap. It's gonna normally hold about 21 PSI. That's gonna be a fairly strong hiss, but it's not gonna be a major hiss. Now, if you run it and it's bubbling inside of here, you probably got a blown head gasket or something else going on. This one does not have anything like that going on, thankfully. So we can leave this off because we've got to pull these reservoir anyway. Let's take you down and look at the radiator. So the radiator doesn't look like it's clogged up at all. There's no, there's not a massive number of bent fins or anything like that. We'll come down to the lower half of it and it looks pretty good too. All right, so the first thing we got to do is get this thing up in the air so we can get access to drain the cooling system because we want to get that going first while we go ahead and start getting access to the water pump. All right, so I put the jack under the cross member, or the subframe is what they call it nowadays, the subframe, because it's removable. I put it under the subframe, and I'm gonna jack the whole front of the car all at once. Let's see if we're high enough to get a stand under it. All right, I got the two stands placed under it, one over there, under the pinch weld, and I'll show you that. Now we're gonna come down slowly onto them. Alright, and you can see I put the stand right there where the pinch weld is kind of beefed up. There's extra meat here. Out here it gets thinner. Unfortunately, the stand kind of pushes up against this piece of plastic that runs under here. There's really not a whole lot you can do about it because you've got to support the vehicle right there. I could potentially support the vehicle over here on this, but it is really thin stamped stuff as opposed to this being a major structural point. So you know, there is another part of the frame right here that I could potentially put it on, but then you got to avoid this aluminum. There's not a lot of great places to put your stand under this car, unfortunately. So it kind of bends that a little bit, but that's plastic. That'll deflect a little bit. And you can see by this little arrow, that is the point that they intend you to raise it from. So, all right, we don't need this thing crazy high. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring the jack down. Out. All right, we're gonna go underneath the front. And we're looking up at this right here. And this is called the petcock. And it is the drain for the radiator. Now, for whatever reason, Ford did not put a hole in this pan so it would drain all the way through. So you kind of have to take this pan off. I'm going to look and see if I have some Tygon. I No, you can't get that in there either. There's really no way. I mean, I guess if you had like a little elbow, you could put it right on it and then come straight out and with a piece of tube and drain it without taking this off. But unfortunately, I'm just gonna take this off here. All the way across the front here, they have a bunch of these little push clips, and you can just take a flat blade, pry out the center, and then pull the whole thing out like so. So I'm going to do that all the way around. All right, and so you just kind of work the center up with your flat blade, pull it all the way, not all the way out, you don't have to. And then this little piece just goes right back in it. Man, I can't see. There we go, right there. So I'm going to set those all aside. All right, and then there are T30 screws all around the perimeter of the back side of it. All right. I think that is all the fasteners. All right, we're gonna try and work this piece out of here. I've worked the corner out there. Work this corner out down here. So really, that might be about as far as I really need to get it. Let me look. No, need to go a little more. Unfortunately. Let's go ahead and take it all the way out. All right. Take that and put it down there. All right, we're gonna try and get this petcock out. Let's try and break it free. Okay. I'll go real slow. Looks like it's moving. Okay, that's a good sign. Let's move a drain pan under it. So I got a drain pan down here. Directly under it. In fact, I'm gonna get something just to raise the pan up. All right, so I put my pan on a little 2-gallon bucket. It works. Let's go ahead and loosen this petcock all the way until it starts draining coolant. This is gonna minimize how much coolant splashes all over the place. I'm not gonna open it all the way. Let's move this more towards the center of it. And make sure the bucket's on the center of it as well, because it's gonna get heavy. And if it falls off, it's gonna make a heck of a mess. It's gonna be the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish here. I think it's just splashing all over the place more. Let's just put it down on the ground. Oh, that's what I usually do. It just makes a mess. It is what it is. All right, I went ahead and put this on a tray, and then another trick you can do is take a little bit of rags. This kind of works like the little things in the urinals. It keeps it from splashing as much. So I took some red rags, some little shop rags. We're going to open that petcock back up. Here we go. Let's get this centered underneath it. Maybe not. There we go. That can kind of help with the splashing a little, not a lot, but it's actually hitting directly on the plastic right now. No. Not working great this time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I don't know, might have been working. Either way, I'm gonna have to use a bunch of my red shop rags to kind of clean up the mess. Get the camera out of here before it gets covered. But you're gonna make a bit of a mess. Have some of those little red shop rags. I'll put a link down in the description to some of these little red shop rags. I only really use the red shop rags for little messes. I don't use them for like oil or anything like that. Messes like this are perfect for. And then I store them in one of those little 2-gallon buckets. And then when they get all saturated, I'm just going to take these and throw them through the wash. Don't wash them with anything you like, because it's going to turn red, because all the red dye comes out of them. But let's go upstairs there and start working on getting access up above. All right, and our main suspect down here is this pulley right down there. Not nice. They need a new cap, and it just fell. The remnants of it just fell down in there. I'm going to fish that out. I fished what was left of the cap. I just found one on Amazon. I guess these are pretty common. They're only like $4 on Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description of that one too. These are affiliate links. So I do earn a small commission. No cost to you, but it does help the channel. So the main culprit right down there is not this pulley, but the one right underneath it. That is the water pump. So that's what we got to get to. So we're going to have to remove the washer overflow, and then, or washer overflow, coolant overflow, this is the washer, and then the engine mount in order to access it. All right, we've got to remove, this is from the overflow is what it looks like. Work this little puppy off, so just pinch that. We're going to pinch the other side and not break the dang thing. All this plastic stuff gets so brittle over the years. I think instead of doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and get a flat blade screwdriver under it and pry it up. Oh, and then the other side wants to go. Nice. So we're going to hold this back as I'm prying this side. I just want to pry it past it is all. Yep, just like that. Come on. There we go. Look, there's more of that washer fluid cap. It's just disintegrating in my hands. Okay. It was down here, and this thing just moving against it just broke it into multiple pieces. Got to love plastic stuff. I think what I'm going to do too is, just so this line doesn't get damaged, is just go ahead and pop it out of its little supports along here. And then we're just going to take it and move it right over there. It's fine, out of the way. This is how I got Mechanical Fingers, the cap that was way down in there. And it sounds like our cooling system's done draining too. So we haven't even got access to it yet, and it's already done down there. Gotta love it. Just going to take a flat blade just to kind of get it moving and slowly pry this hose off. We can take that hose, just kind of move it over there. It's kind of right on the side of this engine hoist area. Don't block that completely if you're going to be using a cherry picker to support the engine later, or an engine support bar that would go across. I'm just going to use a jack because I'm not going to be doing this for very long, but if you were going to be doing this like long term, engine support bar spanning across would be your best thing. But this isn't one of them jobs that you really need an engine support bar. That'd be a overkill there. Okay, now this just comes straight up. That's what it looks like. I gotta get the back side up, and it's proving to be more difficult. Okay. It looks like there's a little tab kind of holding it. So maybe when we get the front and then pull it, it'll come. Nope. Oh, come on. It's got a tab on the back and it's impossible. It's hard enough for me to even see it. It's possible to get the camera down there. I don't want to break it either. Good grief. I don't want to work around it either. Who would have thought a little plastic thing would get the best of you, huh? This is going to dump a bunch of coolant down. So I've got this kind of tilted and pushed down now, so I can kind of see what's going on back here. So there's a little tab back here, and it is tough to get over the hump here. Come on. What was Ford thinking with this design? They weren't. I'm gonna have to do this without the camera in my way. All right, so I got it. I still have my teeth. Jeez, I was like pulling really hard and it finally came out. So there's like a little tab right here. You can see there's a piece of metal that they've stamped out. You can kind of see there. So it's kind of like it's sitting out. It's sitting proud that way. And what it's doing, let me dump this reservoir. All right, so this is in here like this. I'm gonna spin it around. It comes up through this little gap and then was sitting over this ledge. So I ended up taking a flat blade and jamming it down between this and the piece of metal and kind of like pushing it, kind of going like this to push it out, and then pulled up on it as I had a little bit of pressure just to get it up over this little ridge that it has on here. And it is kind of a pain in the butt. So you're gonna, oh goodness, this is just pouring everywhere. It's gonna get the best of you potentially. So it's done draining down here. I ended up moving my catch can underneath the reservoir because it makes kind of a mess. So I shut the petcock and now I'm just kind of wiping up around this little puppy. All right, and now we're going to be working on these engine mount bolts. I need to go ahead and get the engine supported, but I've already got the sockets going. This is a 15 millimeter, and then this is an 18 millimeter on this. I'm going to just be using an impact on those. So let's go ahead and get the engine supported. Okay, and the next thing we need to do is just take a little bit of the load off of that engine mount. We'll go ahead and clear that out of the way. Now there's a sensor under here that we've got to avoid, so that's why they've got this plate over here to protect the AC compressor and this little sensor. It might be a refrigerant control valve sensor. It's very common on European cars now. Anyway, really anywhere along this engine span that's fairly flat, I put a block of wood on the jack because you really don't want to take steel like this and go against something aluminum. It'll scratch it, or even just put a lot of point load and it can crack it. So we're going to take it and slowly lift it up into it like that. And then we're going to raise it just a tad so we can start taking some of the load off. Now you don't want to raise it until the car starts to raise up. You just want to raise it enough that it takes some of the load off of that mount. So that's where we're at right now, and we can go ahead and remove that engine mount. Make sure you've got a fairly decent newer jack that you trust while you're doing this that doesn't bleed down. If your jack bleeds down, I would get another jack, use an engine support bar or a cherry picker, something else. So now that we've got that the engine supported, we can go ahead and start taking these bolts out. Now if the engine were to start coming down, that one the stud came out. If the engine were to start coming down, then you would want to go down and start raising the engine up a little bit more, but it didn't move. So that's what you want. That's really what you want ideally. So the stud came out on this one. That's fine. We'll put it right back in the way it came out. It'll be all right. And there's another bolt down here. All right, the engine kind of moved up a little bit, so we've got a little bit more pressure than we needed, but that's okay, because we're going to need to raise it a little bit anyway, potentially to get to those water pump bolts. Okay, and then we'll just raise the engine mount out of here, and you want to inspect this. Now, I didn't notice when I drove this any major vibrations. It's not really cracking too terribly bad. It's got some cracks down here, and that's not out of the ordinary. I'd probably let that one ride for a little longer. Well, it's cracked right through there. I'll leave it up to them. But if it were me and I'm doing my own DIY work, I'd let it ride because it's not causing any drivability issues yet. So, but that's just me. Now, if it was somebody else that might need it done in 10, 20,000 miles, I mean, it looks like it'd probably last quite a few more miles, so I'd leave it. But for somebody else, you may just opt to replace it since it's out. And I'll put a link down in the description in the pinned comment to an engine mount that would be comparable to the one that came out. All right, and then I'm just going to take a scrap piece of paper that I have sitting around, and we're just going to write up on it here, and then we're going to kind of draw a belt routing diagram. So this little guy is the tensioner right here, and then right underneath it is a little bit larger, and that's our water pump. And then we have the alternator and crank, and the alternator is down, say, here, and then the crank is all right. So we got that, and then we're just gonna draw how the belt goes. So the belt goes from this pulley to the crank, so all the way down to that one, and then it goes down from the crank up to the alternator, and then it's going to go around the water pump and then around the tensioner. So that looks like what we got going on down there. Make sure that matches our diagram. Yeah, definitely. So I always do that even though I've got film. It just makes it easier. Now while we're getting ready to remove the water or the serpentine belt at some point here, we just go ahead and inspect it. Usually 12 cracks per inch on a belt like this is kind of where you want to flag it. This belt looks good. So we're going to leave it on though, because we're going to go ahead and we're going to use it in order to loosen our bolts here for the water pump pulley. So there's two different methods you could use. You could use to get these bolts out. We could raise it up and then use an electric 90-degree and get it going, and then just push it right onto the nut, and then that torque from it just spinning is immediately going to break it free. Or we can take a wrench and tighten our tensioner while we loosen this, and that's going to keep the water pump from spinning. That's the method we're going to use today, because not everybody's going to have an electric ratchet, including me. I only have an air ratchet, and it's broken, so gotta love that. All right, just to kind of show you the setup, I've got a Serpentine belt tool. You don't really need one of these. They're nice to have, but for this car, you really don't need one. I'll put a link in the description for that too, but you could just use a breaker bar, and then this is a 13 millimeter. And so I'm going to be going this way with it to tighten it up. Now, don't go too crazy. Obviously, the engine is just totally free, and for the most part, it's resting on that jack. Now, there's another mount. I haven't even looked, to be honest with you, but there should be another mount on that side in the front, maybe even one over on the other side for the transmission. But anyway, don't go too crazy to knock the engine off of your jack. That'd be a bad day. And then you can see later we're going to loosen it, and that takes the tension off of the belt. So, okay, here we go. So we're going to take a 10 mil on these, and you can see it wants to spin. So if we take this back and get a little tension on it, sometimes it won't spin. And sometimes you got to put, I don't want to go too crazy tight with a tensioner and break it. Okay, well, let's do another thing. Let's do another trick. So we're going to take a rag. We're going to jam the rag down in the belt, and this kind of helps keep the belt from spinning. This is going to pull the rag down into the belt as we do this, which is fine. Man, somebody reefed these bolts on. They should not be this tight. All right, so that method's not working. I went ahead and opened the tensioner and pulled my rag out of there. So the next thing that we can try really is an impact, and it's gonna be tough to get an impact down in here, so we're gonna have to raise the engine just a tad. And you don't wanna go crazy because you don't wanna crack the flex pipe back there. So I'm actually just gonna leave you right here and go raise it a little. Oh yeah, that should get us to where we need to be. Now I can just go ahead and remove the belt. Set that off to the side. Okay. Now I should be able to hit this with my impact. Now I've got an 8 or a 10 mil on it, and then a wobble, because I really just need the impact to break this free. Flung my socket across the room. Let's go ahead and put the belt back on just to give it a little more tension. This stupid hose keeps moving on me. Stay over there. Stay out of my way. There we go. Okay. This should maybe help us a little bit. I'm going to take the tension off and then rotate this up. Hopefully I can get my impact in there a little more straight now. Someone snugged these down way too tight. And now I'm fighting it. I hope I don't have to go and get me an electric ratchet, huh? I might have to. That's just spinning nice and freely. It's one of those things that you run into. Now I've got the engine up as high as I'm comfortable going. I kind of heard the heat shield starting to flex, so you gotta stop then. All right, and this is going to be probably the hardest part of the job for you because these bolts seize up really, really bad. So what I've done with this one to finally break it free, and then I'm going to go ahead and snug it up a little bit. Nothing crazy. They seize on here. So now we're going to go back. We're going to go ahead and take the whole thing and spin it. Now that one's coming loose on me. It's okay. Oops. Back up. So you can see this thing moves on me no matter what. Okay, I'm going to clock that one about there. And then I'm going to take this. And then I'm going to hold this from spinning with this wrench while I use the breaker bar to break this one free. And all I'm doing is breaking the seized. All this stuff gets seized over time. I may have to get the camera out of here just to do this. We'll see. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this one is loose. All right. And so we've got two of them loose. And there's tons of different tricks that you can do now that you got two of them loose. But we're just going to go ahead and come back around. Break this one free. Now it's going to tighten this one back down pretty tight, but it'll be all right. We're just trying to break it all, break the old. They just get seized in the threads from all the heat cycles. Let's get this down a little further. Okay, here we go again. And that one tightened up a lot on me, so I'm going to have to reclock my breaker bar. Okay, there we go. So now we've got two of them nice and loose. This one's going to be tough, potentially, but I've got a trick up my sleeve. So now we really just need an impact blow to get this one to loosen up. It's already been loosened up once. So now what we're going to do is just take a dead blow hammer and we're going to pull, we're going to kind of keep a little tension on it this way, and we're going to hit it real quick. Just that impact can often break it free. It didn't, but that's okay. Okay. It's actually wedged against this, which will actually help me here. There we go. And it's broken free. Now the socket's nice and stuck. Okay. Okay, that one's loose. That one's loose, and that one's loose. All right. I'm not going to tell you how long that took me to figure out. I think like 20 minutes or something like that. I'm just sitting here scratching my head like, man, I really need my impact. Or my... I was trying an impact in here, but the wobble getting in here at this angle, just the angle of the dangle was wrong, right? Now it's time to go ahead and get the serpentine belt off. Whoa. There we go. And then we can take our screws, or our bolts rather. That thing is really going to be in our way a little bit. I can't get the dang thing out. Gotta love that. I really don't want to raise the engine any more than it already is. I kind of want to go down with it maybe. Let's see if we can push it. Yay! I love working on engines that are really this tight quarters. Not. Let's try bringing it down. See if that helps any. Probably not, but do something, even if it's wrong. In the infinite wisdom of somebody that I worked for at one point, and I'm like, are you seriously, dude? Saying that, dude? Okay, there we go. Woohoo! Okay, we sneaked it by that way. Good grief. Okay, I'm going to bring it down a little bit to take tension off of that exhaust. Okay, and now it is time to remove the pump. So we're looking at the pump. It looks like it's sitting in there like this. So you've got 1, 2, and then 3 down there for the last bolt. Let's put the new pump up there. And these are 8mm bolts. I'm going to break them free with my breaker bar. And then I got to get that last one. I'm probably going to have to take my extension off of there to get that last little guy. Right, take this out. We're almost home free. Getting these water pumps out can be kind of a pain because the seal will swell inside of it and they can fight you tooth and nail coming out. So we're not exactly on the full-on home stretch just quite yet, but we're getting there. Okay, let's see if we can get that in there with the... Nope. I'll take the extension off. Try and get this little puppy out. I'll try and get it with my fingers now. If I can reach it. I'm going to have to come around both sides. Yep. Nope, I'm gonna have to take a ratchet to get it off. Let's put the business end on this side. There we go. Yeah, getting that pulley off was not a whole lot of fun. Without any kind of power tools to get that off that actually work, you're gonna fight it like I did and have to use that method. I know it seems counterintuitive to like tighten something up more by loosening something else with it, but you're just freeing up that years of those thermal cycles. There's corrosion that essentially forms in the threads, and it just locks all that stuff together. You see that white talc kind of stuff there? That's corrosion that's forming inside the threads, and that just locks stuff in there. So this water pump is moving a little bit. Now we get all three out, and then this is the part where it's going to fight you. So I'm going to get a pry bar. Now make sure you have a catch can underneath staged so that when you do get this out, it doesn't dump coolant everywhere. Nice. It's a good thing we're changing it, huh? Thing's cheap. I figured that would happen, this cheap casting like that. I'm gonna take a block of wood and hammer it. You can see that puppy does not want to come out. That O-ring is swelled really bad. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just holding my block of wood just like that, and then smacking on it with my hammer, and that will work it out. Sometimes you got to get ignorant on this kind of stuff when it wants to fight you. We're gonna kind of go underneath it just to kind of lift it up. Good grief! Small hammer in there. Did I just break another arm of it? I sure did. I love it. All right, now we heard it drop a bunch of stuff out. Let's just go down below, make sure it's coming out about centered-ish. It's gonna make a mess. It's gonna get all over your jack. There's my two little pieces of the casting of the pump, just cheap pot metal. We're gonna let that drain. I don't make a big mess. I don't know. I don't really care at this point. I'll just wipe it all up. Here we go. Let's just go for it. Boom! Woohoo! This seal didn't swell all that much, but man, it did not want to come out of there, did it? That's all right. We got it out. Let's get down in here and wipe this excess coolant out. You don't have to get it completely clean. I just want to wipe the bore surface here as well. We'll run our finger around there and make sure we didn't score the surface that the seal is going to ride on. If we did, we're just going to smooth it out. A little Scotch-Brite and move on with life. I don't feel any damage. Good. Heck yeah. So that's the old one and the new one. Nothing's really made super heavy duty anymore. That's just cheap pot metal aluminum. That's why it broke. I mean, I can just hold this until there's not much mass to it. It doesn't weigh much at all. I'd be interested to put it on a scale. I mean, it is not more than a handful of grams. It is so light. Anyway, let's get this in. Oh, the good thing we want to look at is this is a steel pump body. So, and it's pressed onto the hub here. So, if it's a plastic one, this can like spin on there. So before we put it in, I want to look at something. This is kind of interesting. You see how much gap is on that fin between here and here? I mean, I can almost put my finger in here. I can't even I hardly put my fingernail in there. I'm hoping this is the right pump. So, oh, I see. They've taken this piece, this boss, off entirely. They've redesigned this a lot. Interesting. Well, this must be an upgraded pump. I don't know. I was kind of expecting this to be spinning on here, like separately. I don't know. It's bizarre. You can see this one is like completely flat, and these fins are like bent down. All right, you can use coolant. I'm going to use a little bit of Dow Corning DC4 is what it's called, electric or dielectric grease. So we're just going to take the O-ring, work it over the pump head first, and then put it onto the groove. And you don't want to take an O-ring and like roll it over something. You want to try and kind of pull it out and let it fall in. See, these O-rings they're really not a super tight fit. And that's how they stick in there real bad. So I'm going to take a little bit of this. Put that up there for now. That's plenty. Where'd my cap go? I'll find it. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and work dielectric grease all the way around it, nice and lightly. If you don't have dielectric grease, like I said, you can use coolant, but I like dielectric grease. It makes stuff go together a lot simpler. It's great for electrical connectors and things like that as well. So just good to have around your shop. And this thing goes down. This is a little hole that if the cooling system would freeze, it's a freeze plug, this would pop out. Instead of destroying the block, it would destroy that instead. It's a little sacrificial thing. Okay. So we want to kind of just get it on there evenly and then just push it in. There we go. Thread our bolts in. And then I can kind of move this a little bit. I'm not going to take the bolt all the way down. I'm going to take it really close. Drop that one. Don't go in the hole. Oh man, that was close. It's not an open top coolant catch container, so if it goes down in it, I'd have to pour it out. Now I'm going to go around and just take them all to where they kind of just snug up. And I'm using a 1/4 inch ratchet so I don't put too much torque on them. I can look up the torque specs and put them on the screen, but really I'm going to take until they bottom out and then just give them like not even 1/8 of a turn. So that's bottomed out. That's it. Like that's completely bottomed out and it's not going to go any tighter. And I'm doing this again with a 1/4 inch ratchet. Whoa, so that I don't over tighten it. I have to go across and block your view. Okay. Okay. I don't like torquing small bolts like that. They like to break. do that at your own risk. Automotive bolts are just cheap pot metal, and they like to break. The big thing is, too, there's nothing trying to turn it and loosen it physically. The only thing that's going to physically try and loosen it is hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. All this stuff is going to expand and contract a little bit different. Now, this is against aluminum. It's really not going to expand and contract different rates. The bolt is steel, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, the bolt's steel, so it is different. Obviously, it's different metal here, so those two things are going to expand and contract at a little bit different rates. But as long as everything is fairly snug or tightened at the same amount with like a 1/4 inch, generally you'll be fine. Okay. Now, remember we had to raise the car to get this puppy passed. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Raise the engine, rather. Now, without the belt on, it's going to make it kind of difficult to snug these up real well. So we'll just kind of snug them a little bit and then get the belt on and snug them some more. Okay, belt is going on. This belt is really an easier belt to learn if you're a newbie to working on cars. I mean, it's a thin belt. There's not a lot of pulleys to put it on. Really easy to get it on. So you want to center it between where the paint ends here and the shiny side is. Just kind of get it as close as you can to center there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as it's super close to that area, it's going to center itself out and make itself true. So, all right, and now we're just going to go around and snug these down. Go ahead and put a little tension on it while we do. Again, I can put a torque spec on this if you want to use that, but this kind of stuff I don't typically torque. I just snug it down until it bottoms out and then give it a little more what for and call it good. I gotta get to this one here now. Okay, let's go ahead and bring the engine down a little bit, and then we will put the engine mount back on. All right, let's get this engine mount on, and then I have got to break from this, and we're going out tonight, so I just want to get this to a point where the engine is not supported by a jack, and it's supported by an engine mount. Okay, we're just going to put these on, and you can see we still got to go down quite a bit, and we've got to go that away a little bit too. Okay, we're about bottomed out. Let's go ahead and get our bolts in there. Man, it feels gritty. It feels like there's sand in those threads. All right, I'm gonna take some brake parts cleaner. Clean those threads out a little. Okay, let's try to line this Oh yeah, that's much better. You don't want a bunch of grit in the threads. I'm gonna go down just a teeny bit more after I get this bolt started. Engine's coming down. That's it, that's all. Just barely saw it move, and it's super close to where, oh no, it's resting on the, you wanna make sure it's resting on this, and then it's really resting on there. So we'll go ahead and snug it up, and then I can break. Now I can go ahead and take my jack out. Free. You can see the engine come down just a little more as it loads up that engine mount, but we are clear underneath. Back from a little intermission for me. No break for me. Oh, no break for you. All right. Yeah, this mount definitely will need done at some point. It's actually ripped at the very top, so it will need done soon, but that's okay. All right, didn't want to do it yet. So we got the engine mount bolts are tight. We're gonna go ahead and put our coolant reservoir that was a pain in the rear to remove back in. And it's got to go aligned on this little clip, and then this little clip aligns here, and this one is just easier to get up. It's got a little bulge too. It just comes apart easy compared to this back one. So back one popped right in. Pop that one in. It's surprising that it doesn't have something else under it to hold it, but it doesn't. Okay, once you get that on, it kind of calms it down too. All right, and then we'll take this clamp. Oh man, try it again. Oh, goodness gracious. These big ones. Trying to use tools that you would use, but I have some hose clamp pliers. That's what you should really use. Make life a little easier. But I want to show that you can do it with tools that most people are going to have. There we go. And you want this little cutout right here to align there. And then we can take this and push it back in, realign it all. Okay. There's an O-ring right there for it. This just pops right in place, real easy. And now we're ready to put coolant in it. Let's just double check that that petcock is completely closed. All right, we're back down here at the petcock, and we need to take the screwdriver and just snug it up a little more. Okay. I'm not going to go crazy and try and get it dead straight up and down. It's giving me a lot of resistance, so I'm going to stop there because it's just a little plastic thing in there. If you get under it and look too on the side by the under the water pump, you got a bunch of coolant you can wipe up. All right. Okay. All right, we got everything out from that we need to have out in there. So we're going to take this and slide it up into the bumper. These plastic skid plates aren't fun. There's that in. I gotta get it into the bumper area first, which is kind of tough. Oh, I gotta move. You gotta move, buddy. All right. So you gotta get it into this first. Enough, and in the center, this thing's kind of a pain. It's not super easy. You really probably should pull the inner fender one out in order to get this one, which is quite ridiculous for just what it is. Okay, but I snuck it in there like that. And now, oh, I'm gonna sneak it around. Crap. There we go. Good grief. It's not the easiest to get back in here, but you gotta sneak it into this obviously, all the way along, and then sneak it up past these and into under this here, but not under this here, because these screws gotta go through here and grab those nut clips. So yeah. Okay, well, if you remember, we have the little push pins, little plastic rivet things, and then we have screws. So the plastic push clips go along the very front. Start lining that up and pushing those in. Only after you've made sure that this thing's engaged on here correctly. There's one here, and then one on the opposite corner. What I have yet to do, get the screws in. Boom. All right, so he bought universal coolant. I'm gonna take, and it's full strength, I'm gonna take half of this and put it in this. I've rinsed this out quite a few times. Doesn't even smell like vinegar anymore. So we're gonna put about half and half in each gallon container, and then we're gonna start putting it into the car. I don't know why they made these bottles where you can't see, but I shine a flashlight down inside and look, and I get it to the 2-quart mark, because there's 4 quarts in a gallon, so that would be half. And I'm gonna go fill these up with water. Now you're supposed to use distilled water. In my part of the country, I really haven't had bad luck using tap water. So, and I've been doing that for 20-something years, so I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. But you're supposed to use distilled water. So if you have an area, or if you live in an area where you have like really hard water, you're gonna definitely want to use distilled water, or lots of minerals or things like that. So come over here, dump our coolant in. You don't hear anything pouring out from underneath the car, so that's a good thing. You obviously want to use your unmarked bottle first. You can see the system's still bubbling. We're going to squeeze the hose and purge it some more. All right. Now we can find a radiator hose and squeeze it. It's sad that it's getting harder and harder to do this portion of it as far as bleeding a cooling system, because you just can't get your hand down in a lot of these spots where your cooling system hoses are anymore. So you almost need a pressure or a pressure bleeder. It's a vacuum that sucks the air out of the cooling system and then pulls all the coolant in. But I've managed to not have one all these years, and I'm not going to get one unless I absolutely have to, because I'm stubborn. But I'm getting there. You can see a few more bubbles being worked out. You want to try and get as many of the bubbles out as possible. And we can just let it sit here for a little while and let the bubbles keep working their way up too. Well, we're going to go ahead and get under it one more time to show you. You really want to get under here as you begin filling with coolant and look at your water pump where it meets the engine there. Let me get the flashlight up here. There we go. You really want to look at that area there underneath the water pump, because if that O-ring on the water pump is leaking, that's the first place it's going to start coming out. It's not. And I think we're good there. We've got coolant in the system, and the petcock is completely dry as well. Before I bring it down, I'm going to put a couple blocks of wood under the tires. It just makes it easier. On some cars, it's just, you need a little bit more space underneath them for your jack. Put the blocks of wood about centered under the tire and centered front to back. And we're going to raise it up. Gives you a little more clearance to get the jack stand out, or the jack out. All right, we got coolant all back in it. It's overfilled a little bit, which is just fine. We're gonna go ahead and fire it up. There's no leaks underneath. We're gonna go ahead and fire her up. I've got a piece of tape on the door. It says no coolant, do not run, or do not start, just to keep someone else coming along and trying to start the car. But there's coolant in it now, so we're good to go. All right, that's it for this 2018 Ford Focus on the water pump replacement. There's that old broken old one. Anyway, I do have a follow-on video for this. Unfortunately, the water pump wasn't the problem. Yeah, it happens. So make sure you check that your fan is running. So I'll put a link to that video up here. Unfortunately, sometimes, you know, you misdiagnose things. We're kind of diagnosing this through text. You got the part, and I just kind of settled and got in my head that that was the problem. And, you know, that's something that can happen sometimes. So, it can happen to all of us. I don't like misdiagnosing stuff, but it happens. Anyway, he was at like 100,000 miles, so it was due for it for routine maintenance anyway. So just got a more dependable water pump in there now. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll put links to the parts and the tools and everything I use for this down in the description below. They are affiliate links, as I may have mentioned before. We do earn a small commission, no cost to you, but they do help the channel grow. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.